I'm sorry if you couldn't get me, but are you able to get me now? Augustine, let me know. Can you get me now? Do you hear, can you hear anything at all? I don't know why you can't get me. That's a bit weird. Oh, okay. Then fine. I'm sorry if you couldn't get me the entire time. I was trying to say today we are going to today I decided to discuss on FSJ and BFD with you guys because I recently completed a voluntary social year in Germany, and so I feel like there's few things you need to know about before you consider volunteering in Germany. So we'll talk about FSJ and in some way talk about BFD because I feel like talking about FSJ really goes well with BFD since they are more or less the same things. But in the meantime, Abby, you had a question to ask me. I'm sure you couldn't get me at the time. But just write your question and then I'll treat it later on. But for now, I'm not going to wait any longer. I'll just talk about the topic of today because later on anyone can choose to watch the live stream. So we can just go ahead. Yes, Abby, a travel insurance is okay. You need something temporal, and when you get to Germany, you can decide to get whatever insurance you want from here. You can get a temporal or travel insurance. That's okay. And yeah, so I want to let you know a few things about volunteering in Germany or about the FSJ, the BFD, as we generally call it. FSJ, by the way, is the Freiwillige Soziales Jahr, and BFD is Bundesfreiwillige Dienst. That's how it's said in German. FSJ BFD is just like an acronym, the short way of saying it. And if you are totally new to this or to whatever we are going to be talking about, FSJ is just it translates to a voluntary social year in Germany. That's just like 1 year of your time. It could be 6 months, anywhere from 6 to 18 months that you choose to volunteer. You can do that mostly in hospitals. You can do that in schools and in Altenheims. I think that's like the homes where elderly people live. You can choose to do your voluntary social year in these places. And before you consider going in for an FSC in Germany, you should be able to consider a few things. So I actually have a card here where I've written out a few bullet points on what I think will be very pertinent if you consider volunteering in Germany. And I'll start with the language. Yeah, the point of volunteering is to perfect your German, but somehow you should have a little bit of background knowledge. That makes sense. Like you should be able to at least understand German by the time you start volunteering. Because you have to bear in mind that where you're going to be working, you would barely speak English or any foreign language or whatever language you speak. I don't know. You would have to communicate in German. So it is very important that you can at least understand some German when you start your voluntary social year. And equally, in order to integrate faster during the course of your voluntary social year, you should try as much as possible to um, communicate, try to speak German because it's going to help you by the time you finish this voluntary social year and get into whatever program you're studying with, you'd realize that your German has gotten better. So it is important to understand German because if you don't understand German, you have a hard time working with colleagues or whatever. So yeah, I felt like I should mention that because in the beginning, yeah, before I started my FSJ, I could understand German to like almost 100%. I wouldn't say 100%, but by the time I finished my FSJ, my like there is basically nothing I wouldn't understand now in German. could just be vocabulary with new words and stuff like that. But by the time I completed the FSJ, I'd gotten way, way, way far with the language. So yeah, you need at least A2. That's for people who live in Germany. A2 in Germany. But if you are applying from abroad, I think you need B1, a minimum of B1. And with the competition now, they are even requesting for B2. So yeah, if you live abroad, consider getting that before you apply for um, an FSU. And then about the age limit, if you don't know about the age limit, in order to volunteer in Germany or in order to be able to do this um, freiwillige Soziales here, you should be of age 26 maximum, like 26 and below. That's where you should be by the time you consider volunteering in Germany. And then if you are above 26, it's totally fine. There comes the BFD because it's just the same thing. The only difference is BFD, there is no age limit. So from 27 and above, you can go for BFD instead of FSJ. Yeah. And one important thing that I realized would be very important before you volunteer in Germany would be already having a concrete idea of what you want to do after volunteering in Germany. This does not only go for volunteering in Germany, for au pair as well. By the time you come to Germany as an au pair, you should already have at least a clue on what you want to do later on. Don't just come and sit down and tell yourself that there's still time, because before you blink your eye, you realize that you're already like 6 months down. And before you know it, you're almost out of your visa, and then you start stressing up. So figure out what you want to do by the time you start volunteering. That will help you to start compiling the documents gradually. And then by the time you finish your voluntary social year, you would have applied already and maybe gotten a university if you want to study in the university. And you would get an Ausbildung if you want to do an Ausbildung. All of that I have already recorded videos on, like I've explained those things. I'm going to leave links in the description box of this live stream at the end. You can check them out if you're interested in studying in the university, or if you want to consider doing an Ausbildung in whatever trade or profession that there is. So yeah, I've talked about the language, I've talked about the age. I'm going to talk about accommodation. You should bear in mind that if you must volunteer in Germany, you have to determine um, what it is that you want for yourself in terms of accommodation. Because most often you're going to find places to volunteer in Germany without accommodation. And if you're coming from abroad, I think it is easier for you to get a place to volunteer where you equally get accommodation. Like they have maybe hostels or whatever you call it. But then you're sure that you can already get a place to stay and everything is kind of sorted, like halfway sorted for you. Unlike where you have to go ahead and start searching for accommodations in Germany, because trust me, looking for accommodations is not one of the easiest things to do in Germany. Hmm. Finding a place to stay is really hard, like really hard. By the way, I'm working on a video on how to get student accommodations in Germany. I'm going to upload that video sometime next week, maybe. Do check it out, but it is quite hectic. So, when you try to get FSJ in Germany, go along with a company or a hospital in case you volunteer in the hospital that offers a place for their volunteers to stay. It's going to be easier for you because, by the way, accommodation is not cheap, especially in cities around South Germany. You're going to have to pay maybe like a fortune to get a place to stay, given the fact that you don't earn so much during the time of your voluntary program in Germany. That might be very hard for you. So just consider getting a place that already has accommodation. Of course, they are going to deduct your rent from your pay, but at the end of the day, you're still better off than getting the entire amount and then going out there to pay for an accommodation. So do bear that in mind. Okay. Then let's go to the most important part, the salary. Guys, by the time you consider volunteering in Germany, don't think you're going to be earning, I don't know. Forget about all the huge figures. Just leave them alone. If you think of volunteering in Germany, just look at other factors because you're not going to be earning anything too much, right? You're going to earn somewhere between 350 euros. Depends on where you find your station for volunteering. You earn around 350 euros to about 600 euros. Depends on where you are. So that's not a lot. That's not so much money. By the end of the day, as a volunteer, you should be able to find your way to live within that amount of money. Yeah. So if you think of volunteering, don't think about money. Don't think about the big paycheck, the big salaries, and all of that. Just forget about it. That's not what volunteer is all about. You basically get some small amount of money that keeps you running during the time that you're volunteering in Germany. So it's not a lot, but still do try to get or try to volunteer in cities where you can still earn somewhere around 500. Yeah, especially if you have to look for a house. Try to find a contract that will give you at least 500 euros a month. That's the best option. And then there's something really important that I realized really later on while I was volunteering. It's about defining boundaries when you start working, because later on it might be a huge problem for you. The moment you start volunteering, you start working anywhere, do make it clear, like stay within your job description. Hi, Florence. Thank you for joining the live. The moment you start volunteering, stay within your job description and already make it clear the kind of things you'll be doing and what you'll not do at all. Because the moment you come and start trying to impress people and later on you want to chill, you want to relax, you you'd suddenly start having beef at work for nothing, for no good reason. So don't be like me. When you go to work, just set the boundaries clear. Like do your job, make sure you're doing your job really well, but don't do too much. Don't overdo. You get what I'm saying? Because when you start overdoing, by the time you stop doing one of those things, just one of those things you normally would do at work, people would start they'll start giving you attitude. So I don't want to say it's even a German thing because I think it's like a natural thing for every other human being. Naturally, if you're not smart, people will try to exploit you. It's but normal. So I don't want to say most Germans are into that because it's kind of like it's just Germans or some Germans. But I think it is a general thing. When you're volunteering, make it clear the things you're going to be doing and what you cannot do or you will not be doing. But make sure you're still doing your job and doing your job really well at the end of the day. Because I had a really rough experience with that. And so I felt like it's something I should mention. If anyone has to volunteer, keep that in mind before you start working. Define your boundaries at work, but make sure you are doing your job and you're doing a good job. Because at the end of the day, you're going to get like, it's called a Zeugnis in German. A Zeugnis is like, should I call it a reference? I don't really know how it translates, but at the end of the day, they are going to give you a paper that states whatever, like how you did your job, if you did your job very well, and all of that. Florence, I love to come to Germany. Florence, can you please write your question again? Maybe like a couple of minutes later. Let me just finish explaining what I'm trying to explain, and then I'll take your questions. Okay, just give me a couple of minutes. Your list is final. Thank you, Ike Divine. Okay, so I was talking about defining boundaries. I don't know. Let me not explain too much. There's not really much to explain about that, by the way. But just make sure that you stay within what you know you can do to the end of your job while you're volunteering. Don't try to, that's the word, don't try to impress when you start working. Because at some point you want to relax and do not take it lightly on you. That's what I'm trying to say. And then yeah, let's talk about locations where you might want to volunteer or where you'll be looking for these voluntary social year programs. Now you need to know the kind of person you are before you start looking for a place where you want to volunteer, because I feel like those will be one of your easiest years in Germany. Easy as in you're not responsible for so much. You just have to volunteer, just basically go to work and come back and that's it. But you need to know the kind of person that you are. If you're someone who likes partying, for instance, then you want to start looking for your um volunteer programs in cities or somewhere around cities. You don't want to go to the villages, because in the villages you don't have like good public transportations, and most often when you volunteer you still rely on public transportation, right? In villages by 11 or midnight, not even midnight, 11, you will not have the trams, you will not have the buses, you will not have the S-Bahn and all of that. So based on the kind of person you are, see what works for you, and then you can know where you should be applying for voluntary social years. Although it is easier to get contracts in those places away from the city, but still at the end of the day, know what works for you. For me, I really didn't mind. I could live anywhere. So yeah. But that's very important, because at some point you feel like you don't know why you're volunteering or why you're here and all of that. You start getting like burnouts. That's the word. I think 6 months down the road, I felt like, okay, I'm done. I was just tired, I was just frustrated. I was just, yeah, there was just a lot going on. And at that time, you want to be where you can easily access things. Like you can quickly go out, you can quickly do this and that. But if you're off in the villages, it might be really challenging for you. So yeah. And I think I've kind of touched the things I wanted to talk about, like the things I want you to note before you start volunteering, things that will help you, like will save a lot of stress during the course of your voluntary year. If you are able to do all of this, then you really will not have so much problems with your voluntary year. But if you start off by impressing people, doing so much at work, doing way out of your limit, of course they'll love you for that. But few months down the road, you'll be exhausted. You just want to have like a chill day sometimes at work, and it will not be possible because you already showed them that you could do so much. Yeah. And the last point I will talk about is places where you can like find your how you can apply for the voluntary social year in Germany. There are a couple of organizations. I'm going to put the links to you in the description box at the end of the live. You can use Parité T-shirt. That's quite a great one. You can find a place to volunteer through this Parité T-shirt. You can use DRK, Deutsches Rotes Kreuz, and there are a few more. I'm just going to put the links later on down. For those of you who are interested in applying for FSJ or BFD in Germany, you can just go and click those links and see what they're offering you. Then you can put your applications through. So yeah, based on my experience, these are the few things that I felt like someone needs to know before they actually start volunteering. So I was just like, let me put it out here in case you're not aware. You just think, oh, volunteering is going to be all rosy every day. I'm going to get that big salary. I'm going to get this and that. No, no, no. Lower your expectations. If not, the entire thing will humble you. Yeah. So that's it. Now I think I can take questions from you. must not be about volunteering. You can bring questions on whatever topic you have. There was someone talking about being a fashion designer, blah blah. I missed that. Let me check again. I think it was from Florence. If you're watching me, you can still send in your question. Mm-hmm. Is it a must to do FSJ before doing Ausbildung? No, 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 Augustine. It's not a must to do FSJ before doing Ausbildung. I'm going to put it this way: FSJ is more like when you feel the need to improve on your German. It's it's just, for instance, if you want to do an Ausbildung, I think it's a great idea if you start with an FSJ, but that's if you feel like you must do it. Because if you just come to Germany and you want to start an Ausbildung, I don't think your German is all up there to go and study in German and do everything in German. But now going through the FSJ, it's going to give you that background that you need, the background knowledge. It's going to get your German to, if your German was here, for instance, it's going to get you to here by the time you're done with the entire program. And also, it's going to give you higher chances to get a contract for Ausbildung than someone who has no experience whatsoever volunteering, but still you can get contracts for Ausbildung without volunteering. It's not a must. And honestly, you don't need to do it for 1 year, even if you have to do it. Because after 6 months, you just don't get it. You're just like, why am I here? You know. But if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. Mm-hmm. There was a question I got. I think it's somewhere down. Let me check it out. Did I even get that question from? I don't know. But I think it was from Florence. Florence, if you're watching me, you can ask me your question. What is the name of the other one you said for people above 26? Okay, Augustine, that is privately get teens, and that's still it's more or less like a SEOT, or it's more or less like volunteering. The only difference is the age limit. If you're above 27, then you go for BFD. You cannot come for FSJ if you're above 27. But it's more or less the same thing. You can apply to the hospitals, you can apply to schools, you can apply to these places where you have older people living. Von Heinz, I don't know. And then, yeah, you can easily work there. Yeah, it's Augustine. It's the same. You just have to address it differently. For instance, if you're having like as your topic for your title for your application for FSC, it should rather be an application for a BFD. That's the difference. It's the same thing. If you've written a letter for FSC, you can just edit it, make it to BFD, and then you can go ahead from there. Yeah. More questions you can ask. You're welcome, Augustine. And yeah, like I said, you need A2, between A2 and B1 to volunteer in Germany now. Prior to this point in time, you could use A2 to volunteer, but now I think it's mostly B1, B1 and B2. Some people get requests for B2 for FSU. So you just need to see what's working for you. Oh, okay, on the accommodation. Yeah, that's what I was just trying to mention, Divine. On accommodation, I already said most often you're going to get an offer, like an offer for a place to stay, but not in every case. And even when an organization decides to accommodate volunteers, it cannot accommodate everyone. Like, for instance, let's say there are 10 volunteers, they're hiring 10. They might be able to accommodate five. Like, they have hostels for five. It means the other five people are supposed to go out there and look for houses. But still, at the end of the day, I would advise you to go for what they are offering you, because they're going to give you an accommodation which will be less costly, and most often those rooms are equipped. They're going to give you like a self-contained kind of room, like it's a studio kind of thing. You have your room, you have your kitchen, and you have your bathroom going on in that space, and it's going to be equipped. Like, you have everything there. You just need to come along with your belongings and you can stay in that room. It's quite cheap. But if you have to go out there and look for houses, you'd find maybe a house without beds, without this, without that. You have to start buying everything. That can be really expensive as a volunteer. You don't earn that much to go around buying those things. I didn't get the question, Divine. Let me check again. Yes, you can. If the school you're applying to have, yeah, sure. Coming for Ausbildung, can we stay in the student accommodation? Yes, but like I said, the only shortcoming or the only disadvantage is they cannot accommodate every student. Like, if they are employing or enrolling like 20, 30 students, they always have a place for half, not even up to half. They cannot accommodate even half of you. So what you have to do is you always have to apply early in order to get a room or whatever in these hostels, in these places. If not, you won't find them. And when you don't find them, you have to go around and look for a shared apartment, mostly. Vigay, it's called a Vigay here. You'd have to find a shared apartment, and or whatever option. You can rent a flat with someone. But yeah, try to always, if you're volunteering, if you're applying for BFD, for FSJ, I mean, try to always apply early. And when you apply, just book already for accommodation. Just tell them already you need a place to stay as early as it can be. And if they don't, try applying to other places where you know you'll find accommodation. At the end of the day, it's cheaper and it's easier, because then you get a contract from them, and then they prepare you what do you call this, a renting contract, yeah, in English. They get your renting contract for you and everything all at once. You don't have to go on websites looking for houses in Germany, because I'm telling you, finding a place to stay in Germany is so hectic. The most difficult thing you can ever think of. Guys, share the video. Which do you think is better for a newbie, student or hostel or self-con? For a newbie, I would say a hostel. I mean, before you figure out everything going on around you, start from a hostel. A hostel is cheaper, it's easier, because you go through the school, you just get everything all at once. It's easier, it's cheaper. Especially if you're from abroad, it's easier and cheaper. Start from a hostel. And when you now live in the hostel, you can, by then you'll be making friends, you'll be joining groups, maybe Facebook groups, the expat groups in your cities, and then you start finding, you get so much information on how you can find houses and how you can even find cheaper houses. So start from a hostel if you can. I can apply and get accommodation. Yeah, if you're doing Ausbildung, you can apply for accommodation in the student hostel and you get it. It's possible. Yeah. Florence, fashion designer. I would love to come to Germany. Where do I start from? Okay, whew, that's quite a lot. Where do you start from, really? Um, Probably you want to come back here and start with an Ausbildung. Think you should get your language up to speed. I don't know if you started doing the language already. If you've not started, then you have to enroll and learn the German language first because that's the first thing. If you think of coming to Germany through a social program or through an Ausbildung, the first thing you should think of is the language. You need to get your language up onto at least B1 to start discussing about that. You can easily come through an Ausbildung, find an Ausbildung around the designing thing, then you can come for an Ausbildung and yeah. But first, you need to get German language, a German language certificate of B2 for Ausbildung. Yeah, I really don't know. I really don't know. But I think your best option is getting yourself German up to B1 at least or B2 and then try an Ausbildung. I don't know your age range, like I don't know where you fall, like I don't know what I can suggest to you. So that's quite broad. I don't know where to start from. Yeah. Share the live, guys. How long do Nigerians need to get? It's not about Nigerians or whatever. Regardless of where you come from, the appointment booking system has changed. So you're going to wait just like the other people would wait. Now it's based on categories. And for the A category or the A list, you need to be coming for research, PhD kind of people, coming as a student, and you have to meet a certain criteria. I've done a video on that, you can check it to be able to apply on the A category. If not, you go to B category if you don't meet the requirements. And if you're coming for a language visa, you equally apply under the category B, and the wait time is quite long now. Most students have to wait for up to a year to get an appointment, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I don't know what to say. But just make sure that if you are applying for a visa, you meet the requirements for the category where you're applying. Because if not, you're wasting your time and you're wasting someone else's time. Because you just be filling space that someone can actually get in. So if you don't meet the category for the A listing, then go to the B. Yeah, someone said 7 months if you're lucky. He's right. Because it takes even up to 10 months for the A category. You can get up to 10 months. Yeah, the wait time is quite long. But you just have to you just have to be positive and still apply if you meet the requirements for maybe a certain category, and then you just wait and see what happens. Eventually you would get a call. It takes long, but students still come in. The only difference is the amount of time it takes now. I know it can be nerve-wracking, but we can't do much about it. That's the new system. Yeah. So like we said, if you're doing FSJ, make sure the contract you're getting is coming with a renting contract. Like search until you meet some place that has to offer you renting contract, like they give you accommodation as well. It's cheaper because if you have to go and find yourself accommodation, they still wouldn't give you that kind of salary that would let you pay for an accommodation and still be able to live without stressing so much, without having to look for a second job. Yes, when you, it's a divine. Yes, when you're doing an house building, you pay the taxes. That's why you have a salary before tax, like which is your gross income, and the salary after tax. It depends now on what house building you'll be doing. But for something like nursing house building, for something like the nursing house building, the first year mostly you earn around 1,150 or 1,200 in some places. That's before tax. That's a gross income you get. And then after tax, you're going to get, maybe it depends on the state where you are and everything. You're going to get maybe at the end of the day like 1,000 or 900. It depends on what the percentage you'd have to pay would be. Yeah, but your salary before and after tax will be different. Hmm. But then that's all you need to pay for, because your insurance is going to be covered by to pay for your insurance. Whatever place you're working with, doing the hospital would take care of your insurance. Yeah, someone says if you have plans to travel next year, you should start applying already. I think that's the easiest way, like so that you don't start putting pressure on yourself for no good reason. Just start early in time and see what happens. But the procedure is now taking so much time. It's just the new system. It's not me, it's the new system. Because I remember when I came here, or when I left Cameroon, this did not exist yet. I think it's something that just happened last year or within the last 2 years. Because when I left, there was no such thing. You could still go online and um, find available dates and just click the date that works best for you. And then you wait until that day, you go to the embassy, you get a thing done. Wait for a couple of weeks if there's a visa you travel. How to get accommodation from abroad? Sure. Yeah, by next week, you get a video on how you can find accommodation abroad. I'm going to show you how to get accommodation, especially for international students, because I know that can really be a hassle, especially when you're applying from abroad. Hmm. What would work on that? I'll show you what I came up with. Hopefully, it's going to help you to be able to get your self accommodation faster before moving to Germany. But nevertheless, if you don't, then apply early in the hostel. Get a place in the hostel, come in, and if you are not super comfortable in the hostel, then you can start looking. That way, it's going to be easier from Germany in the hostel, because the hostels are still, as of now, the cheapest options. So yeah, talk about the hectic bureaucracy. Okay, divine. That's a long topic of conversation. Yeah, as you already know, it's quite bureaucratic here in Germany. There's a lot of paperwork going on for everything. You need, you're either receiving a letter or you're sending out a letter, blah blah blah. It's quite that's quite an interesting one, because that was one of the biggest culture shocks for me when I came to Germany. For everything, you get a letter in the mailbox. Eh? Okay. Yeah. So Yeah, we could actually talk about that in another life, talking about the paperwork system and everything. Because as you already know, I think I've talked about, I drop it like here and there in different videos on my channel. But when you get into Germany, there are a couple of things you must do: registration, getting Bescheinigungen, like there's a lot. It's quite a huge. It's a huge one. We can talk. We can talk about it on another line. Mm. Oh, okay. These people are talking about something else. Yeah. Share the live, guys. For those of you watching me, please share the live. Yeah. I already uploaded a video on what you should do like after you get your visa and you come to Germany. And that has to do with so much paperwork. You have to register at the city hall, get your registration certificate, go ahead and get your bank account with that registration certificate, get you like a SIM card and everything and everything. But the first thing you do is you always register when you come to Germany. I'm going to link the video as well here. What if you pay for accommodation and a visa didn't get out in time? That's something you have to negotiate. Wait, let me see the question. You'd have to negotiate on that with your landlord, right? Before you even go ahead to pay for accommodations and everything. That's why it's easier with the school hostels. Like if you're coming from abroad, you need to show proof of accommodation. It's way easier with the school hostels, like getting hostels or even private hostels as well. But going through the hostels are way better because they know that yeah, this happens to students. You can always negotiate and get back money if it turns out that you're not coming at all or if it turns out that you're coming later. But I think you should start from the hostels because you can easily sort out issues that might arise in that situation. Maybe for hospital. Yeah, that's a relevant question with the new visa situation. That's a relevant question because there are no chances, there's no guarantee that you get your visa right on time and then you can come and start. But the thing is, with the Ausbildung, it's quite different because they're giving you a renting contract because they know you're going to be working under them. And actually, before they pay out your salary, they deduct their house rent. Like, your house rent gets deducted before they pay your salary into your account. So you can easily fix that. But the thing is, if they realize that you're not coming in time to occupy your room or whatsoever, they'll probably give to another student who is already in Germany. So for the Ausbildung, it's quite easy to fix it. The moment they realize that you're not coming already, someone else is going to take the room or the place where you're supposed to stay. And you cannot really pay per se with the Ausbildung. And then you have to start struggling to get back your money later on because even from your first rent, they deduct it from your first paycheck. Yeah, you're going to make a deposit, which is mostly like the caution or caution. And that's the only thing you might have to worry about in the end, but they'll definitely refund it to you if you're not coming or if you're not longer taking the apartment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Share the live, guys. In case you're just joining us, we're talking about BFD or volunteering in Germany as a whole, and we're taking a few questions around that or general questions with moving over to Germany and living here. Like I said, we'll talk about the paperwork or the bureaucratic situation in Germany maybe later in another life. But today, this is what we are talking about. Yes, please. By the time you apply for your visa, get all your documents. Because what if you're waiting and expecting to get a document before your interview date and you don't get it before that time? Most likely you'll not get a visa if you're missing a document. So to be on the safe side, you should get every document before you apply for your visa. But now with the situation at hand, with the fact that it takes so long, you can kind of play around with that. But the risk is if you go for your interview and you don't have all the documents required, you kind of reduce your chances of getting the visa. So it's up to you at the end of the day what works for you. But I still totally recommend that you get every document when you apply for the visa. You just wait until you get an appointment that you have to go and do the interview thing. You bring all those documents along. That way, they don't have a reason to deny you a visa, unless there are some other things. Yeah, someone is talking about translating documents. If your documents are not in English, like I said in the previous video, very important that you translate them to German. What's your this person who asked this question? Augustine, are we supposed to translate our birth certificate to German? If your birth certificate is already in English, there's no reason why you should translate it to German. Unless it's in another language, which is not English, then. But if your certificates, if your documents in general are already in English, there's no reason why you should be translating them. Because I use every document of mine in English and I didn't have to translate anything. But now, if it's another language, you have to translate. Yeah, this one says more like your um birth certificate isn't necessary. Yeah, you don't really. But in general, all your documents should be in English at least. If it's any other language which is not English, then you have to start translating them, especially when it comes to the part where they are recognizing documents. Do not recognize any document in a foreign language which is not English. Like it's either it's German or it's English. So if you recognize documents in Germany, make sure it's English and German or German, English or German. Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. Like I said, for BFD, for those of you who want to apply for BFD, I'm going to put links in the description. Do check them after the live stream. And for Ausbildung as well. You can use those links to apply, to find vacant positions. Then you can apply directly. Okay. Yeah, so any other question? What's this question again? Augustine, after you book an appointment, eventually you get an email with your date when you're supposed to come to the embassy for your interview. You get an email. Nobody will call you. Yeah, they might call you, but that's like the last, unless you haven't responded, or and it's very rare that they'll call you because you didn't respond to your interview. You mostly get an email. They go by emails. Get an email with a date and a time when you should come. Yeah. So look out for, after you've booked an appointment, check your email regularly, daily, if possible. Yeah. I think that's been it for today. That's it for me. Unless you have any other questions, I think we could call it a day. And then we do this again maybe next weekend, if possible. I don't know if I'm able to do this next weekend, but I'll try on the weekends. I'll try every now and then because it's quite fun, like just coming here to get this kind of personal interaction with you all. It's amazing. Do we get the emails immediately after booking, or it's not immediately? That's why I said you have to check you have to check your emails regularly. Like after you wait with a new system, with a new booking system, it's not regularly. Normally, like when I got here, um, I got my, like, at that time you could still get that's like how many years back? Like 3 years back. You could still get your appointment like right away. Like after booking, you get your confirmation right away. But now, since it's different, since there's this wait time in between, it's a bit different. So you have to wait as well to get a confirmation on a date. Yeah. But before, you could get your confirmation right away. Then you know when you're going to the embassy. Yeah, you're welcome. And so, guys, let me know in the comment. Like, let's see what you're interested in. Help me with video suggestions, because sometimes it's just hectic, it's just too much. You really can't sit and think of what exactly to record in all of that. So you can drop video suggestions, like what exactly you want to see on the channel. Let's see what you're interested in, and then from time to time I can put videos around those areas, and let's equally know what kind of conversations you want to have on live streams like these, how often maybe you want to get the live streams. But on the weekends, I think for now on the weekends it's still doable. Like getting live streams on the weekends is possible. But just let me know if that's something you enjoy doing or you'd want us to have regularly, and maybe what we should talk about. Like bring those topics which are really hot, 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 like interesting for you. Because I would obviously talk about things centered around what we generally talk about on this channel, which is mostly moving to Germany, although to an extent eventually I'm going to upload videos on self-help, personal development, because that's something I'm really interested in. That's something I've been learning so much about. We are going to eventually upload videos on things like that, and there are reviews coming up. I'm going to put up videos on reviews on the channel, vlogs as well, sometimes travel vlogs. If I travel, why not? You get some travel vlogs and everything in between, all the good stuff, guys. You're going to be looking at those things later on. Here's suggestions how to get cheap accommodation from abroad. I got you covered, Augustine. I'm already working on that video. Got you. How to submit documents to be legalized. Okay, that's an interesting one. Vlogs from Divine. Okay, I see the comments. I see the comments. I know I'm getting the vlogs things like over and over. I'm going to consider filming vlogs. It's just that sometimes I feel like street interviews, Divine. You keep coming back with this same. Okay, I've heard. Would consider doing that. But street interviews on what exactly? Like, on what exactly do you want me to go around interviewing people on? I can consider that. I can do that. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Let's see how that goes. And there's still FSJ available to apply within this month. Yeah, you can always apply. That's from, let me see. That's from China Cash. Yeah, you can always apply. If you apply now, uh, they might take you in a little bit later because normally you could in South Germany you could already start volunteering from next, is it next month? Yeah, next month, September, right? Yeah. In South Germany you could already start volunteering from September, so that means you apply early within the year to get to start volunteering by September. So you can apply now, but you will not be able to start volunteering next month. You have to wait and start volunteering maybe towards the end of the year, kind of. Yeah. If not, um early next year, but early next year will be still like, will be way 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 too far. They are still, you still find people because the funny thing is most people fly out like the drop off at some point, people resign or they quit. So they'll try to find people to fit them, and so you can equally still get to start in somewhere around November. Yeah, between October and November, you can still start, even though you should have applied earlier before now. But just apply. Do you legalize our documents before going to the embassy? Yes, because you legalize your documents to apply for Ausbildung. That's quite a different thing. Don't mix them together. When you're applying for an Ausbildung, they are going to ask you to recognize your documents. So you have to legalize and recognize those documents to get a contract for an Ausbildung before you can go, like, book an appointment at the embassy with that contract. They are two different things. Self-care, self and health care, story time, advices. Ike Divine, I see you. Okay. Thank you very much for the suggestions. Thank you very much for the video suggestions, Ike Divine. Self and healthcare storytime advices. Okay. Noted. Noted. The good thing is, even if I don't post those kind of videos right away, they always come at some point because right now I've been doing this for a while. Like, people have been putting in their suggestions for videos. So when I get them, I pick a few, I start working on them. And now I'm getting these ones. It means I'm going to start working on them, but maybe a little later because I still have content to put out on what people want to see. They requested for that like a while ago or some time ago. But the good thing is, I assure you, I can do that. I can consider doing that because it's somewhere around what we talk about. Story time videos. Okay. Okay. I've gotten that a couple of times, so I have to consider recording story time video. Yeah, I hope I didn't miss any other one. Anyways, I'll check them again. Yeah, so I guess that's it for me. China Cash, thank you. You're welcome. That's it for me, unless you have more questions to ask. That would be nice to see. Sure. I would consider doing all of that. Thank you guys for suggesting, by the way. Like, it kind of helps. It's kind of a relief sometimes with going around seeing what to talk about, like what you all want to see. Okay. I see the suggestions. I'll work on them. I'll do my best. Yeah. So, guys, in case there is no other question, I think we can stop here and maybe do this again sometime next week, if possible. How long does it How long does it take to get interview from the employer offering the Ausbildung? Okay, this is how it goes. Normally, you apply for this Ausbildung and then you wait for maybe 2 weeks. I would say give it a minimum of 2 weeks. Yeah, I get it, Augustine. I would say give it a minimum of 2 weeks. It can take longer. Some people will take up to 1 month to respond. But most often, I got like feedback within 2 weeks. And within 2 weeks, if they're interested in you, they're giving you a date right away for your interview. If you're in Germany already, you can choose if you would come to them in person or you want to have like a Zoom interview or whatever. If you want to have a virtual interview, then it's up to you. But just give it 2 weeks. Between 2 and 3 weeks, you get a response saying that they want you to come in for an interview, or you get a response saying that unfortunately, yeah, they don't, they can't employ you. Or if they're interested in you and you don't have everything they want, they would respond, but they'll ask you to send those documents first. And when you send the documents, then they're going to book you in for an interview. But between 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, you get a date. I hope that helps and answers your question. And you can apply for many companies. Yes, you can apply for us because at the end of the day, it's not like you're writing a different letter to each and every company you're applying for. If you already decided that you want to apply for a nursing Ausbildung, all you need is one letter that you're going to edit, like just changing the address. And then you can send, if you have the energy to send to 20, why not? Send to 20 different locations. That's all you need to do. You just change the address on your letter and just edit a little bit in, push it out to the next place, change it, push it out. That's all. So you are allowed to apply to as much as you can. You are welcome. You're welcome, EK Divine. Thank you. Thank you for being here as well. Because honestly, I sit down and do this because you show up. If not, I wouldn't want to sit here and, or yeah, I could just sit here and do all of this and then upload the live stream. You watch it later. But the fact that you come and we have like this back and forth interaction makes it worth it. I am Bonnie. You're checking in now. You're too early for our next live. And our next live is maybe next week, maybe, I don't know. You're late for the previous one, which is about to end in very early for the next one. What's the minimum German level for Ausbildung? Bonnie, because you just came now, I'm going to take this question before I run. I always say this in my video, guys. I always mention it. You need B2. The minimum, like officially, the minimum requirement is B2 for language qualification. But like I said, people get contracts every day with B1. But it's kind of a rare thing. I mean, I'll say every day, like every other person gets it. No. If you get a contract with B1, then they must have interviewed you and your German is so good that they feel like, okay, you don't have a problem studying with B1. Um, Officially, minimum requirement is B2 defined, but B1 has a condition to it. Like you must be fluent, like you must be able to, they need to know that you can understand, you can read German, and you can speak some German because you're going to go ahead and start working with people right away. And you need to be able to talk to those people. If during the interview they see that you cannot hold a conversation in German, like you cannot actually have a conversation in German, they will not let you go with B1 because, by the way, officially it's B2 they ask for everywhere. Yeah. So get yourself B2 and then you don't have to really fight one once you put in applications and your language qualification says B2, you are somewhere up here because the other person who comes with B1 is down here. That's equally another thing. It's automatic that they'll take someone who has a B2 over you who has B1 because B2 is the minimum. Or at least they feel like when you have B2, then you can communicate, you can study in German and all of that. Although sometimes I really don't agree with that because, yeah, there are a lot of people who would have even B2, but they might not be as good as people who have B1 when it comes to speaking German or whatever. Someday, yeah, Bonnie will talk detailedly about the opportunity card in another live stream because this is almost, I can't start talking about that now. Okay, but I've noted that's your suggestion. We'll do that about the opportunity card. So maybe one more question and then one more question and then we can come back here next week. I'll let you know if there is a next week program. But I don't really think. Let's just see how the week runs along. It's possible to do it again on Sunday, then we will. If not, then we'll schedule another live some other time. Communicate that to you when I'm available. Mm. If there's no other question, guys, see you next week. What's this question? Bonnie, they teach you all levels in 24 days. What class are you talking about? I've never heard of that. And by the way, it's not possible. German is not one of the easiest languages to learn in the world. Yeah, I'm not going to come and tell you it's the most difficult. I'll not discourage you, but it's not one of the easiest languages. And there's no way they are going to teach you all levels in, did you say 24 days? That's somewhere around not even a month. No, it's not possible. It's a lie. It's a scam. Each module, by the way, needs at least 3 months to be able to complete it. Let's say you're doing A1, you need 3 months. Like even back in Africa, if you're in Cameroon or in Nigeria, I don't know where you are, but each module needs 3 months. A1 needs 3 months, A2 up until maybe B2 if you need B2. Probably what you're talking about would be like a Vorbereitungs kind of thing. It's like a Vorbereitungskurs. Maybe you're talking about that, like a revision course. It should be like a revision course, and then it makes sense for someone who has already gone through all those levels. And then you can take all of that in 24 days. It makes total sense. But if it's learning German from scratch, there's no way. It's not possible. Super intensive. Even intensive courses here in Germany don't run like that. Intensive courses here in Germany, Bonnie, you get to study every other day. Like it's a 4 hours thing. Like you have to be in school every day for 4 hours. That's how intensive courses work. And still, to be able to complete the entire module, you need the entire 3 months to do that. You still need 3 months to do the entire module. Yeah, they can compress. There's some places where you find those intensive which are quite compressed. Like you're able to do it within the next, I would say, like 6 weeks kind of thing. There are courses like that, but still, for someone who has no background knowledge in German or whatsoever, it's not going to be an easy thing for you if you don't have any background knowledge. But if you've already started learning German, you're somewhere around A2 or B1, then it's kind of doable. Wait, which level? Yes, Augustine. Each level needs 2 to 3 months. It can be fine. Yeah. Other people are giving you the same thing. I'm just trying to tell you here. Each module takes like 2 3 months to get through it. So I maybe it's possible, maybe it's actually credible, like you said, but I have not heard about the super intensive course where you take every level in 24 days, like every level of German in 24 days. Think of it, you're not a machine. I don't know how you're going to grasp all of that in 24 days. I don't know. Yes, Ike Divine, he's probably talking about the Vorbereitungsthing, maybe where you get this preparation for your exams, but then you must have done the entire program. You must have taken the entire course. Maybe, let's say you're preparing to write a B2 exam. You would have taken the entire B2 course or from A1 up onto B2 to be able to come for something like that. Like the 3 weeks program now, it's like preparation for the exam. It makes total sense. Whew. Yeah, so that's it. That's my take on my point of view on that. You can't learn German that fast. You can teach yourself German. You can even teach yourself German, but not that fast. It's going to be a gradual kind of thing. Yeah, that's it. So for everyone who joined the live today, thank you very much. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for all the questions. Thanks for making it worth it, like sitting down here and talking. It's been great having you all around. And we'll probably see in another live or in the next video. I don't know when there is another live or when I can host another live, but nevertheless, I'm going to see you in another video. You're welcome, Augustine. You're welcome. So yeah. Yeah, one day we go meet. We go actually meet Augustine. I hope everything works out for you, and then you can come over to Germany, and for sure we're going to meet. Yeah, all the best for anyone who is applying for any of the programs or waiting for a visa. Just be patient and positive. Stay positive. You're probably going to get whatever it is you are searching for. Rashid Odokwole. Hi. Thank you for joining the live, but you are early for the next. Because I'm leaving. Sorry, I can't stay anymore. It's been a little over an hour already. Almost 1.5 hours here. But it was nice. It was nice to meet you all. Happy Sunday too. Thank you, Divine. Happy Sunday as well. Enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. See you in our next live or our next video. Yeah, you're late, unfortunately, Rashid. But I'll see you in for sure. You can join our next live, maybe Sunday next week. I'll let you know if I can do it Sunday next week. I'm going to post it in the community. Do check out within maybe somewhere around midweek. Check the community if I have something up. Because if I have a live, I would always, if I want to host a live on the weekend, I'll always leave it in the community around Wednesday or Thursday, kind of thing. That way you can join on Sunday and maybe join in time. Please don't come when we are about to leave. Because then I feel like, oh, okay. Maybe I joined earlier than I had to today. But I think because a few people were already writing and asking when is the live, when are you coming on live? So I was just like, okay, I'm available now. Let's just do our thing. Yeah, that's a good idea. You can go over the video. We didn't I didn't talk about so much today. Oh, I just wanted to like let you know some important things that you have to keep at the back of your mind before you start volunteering in Germany. Like just a few tips that will help you if you want to volunteer in Germany, like before applying, even if you already applied, you're waiting for a response. These tips will help you when you start working. So you can go over the live later when you have time and have fun. If you have a question, drop it and then I'll respond later. But for now, I'm gonna love and leave you guys. Bye.